Well, welcome to the 700 Club, a horror story out of the Netherlands. Avoid movements in the street and lock yourself in your hotel rooms. This warning was issued to Israelis in the Netherlands after a brutal assault from a mob of armed Muslims. The attack followed a soccer match where at least 5 people were hospitalized and 62 were arrested.
Israeli leaders are horrified at this blatant display of anti-Semitic violence, and they're taking quick action to help the victims. Julie Stahl brings us the story.
Israeli soccer fans in Amsterdam to watch a game were violently attacked and threatened by a giant mob of Muslim immigrants armed with knives and clubs as they left the event. The Israeli government is sending flights to rescue Israelis who are said to be hiding in their hotels after the brutal attacks. Israeli media and social media exploded with coverage and outrage about the attacks, which are being called a pogrom, an organized massacre of an ethnic group, like the Nazis carried out against the Jews in the 1930s. Thursday's attack happened just days before the 86th anniversary of Kristallnacht, when the Nazis launched multiple pogroms against Jews. Prime Minister Netanyahu says he views with utmost gravity the planned anti-Semitic attack against Israeli citizens and requested that security be increased for the Dutch Jewish community. He spoke with the Dutch Prime Minister, who posted on X, calling the attack completely unacceptable anti-Semitic attacks on Israelis. Some media reports say there were signs of tension even before the attack. The Times of Israel reports video on social media showed Israelis chanting against Arabs and Palestinians in the city, apparently before the violence, and that pro-Palestinian anti-Israeli activists claimed the Israeli fans were the first to harass and engage in violence. Newly appointed Foreign Minister Gideon Saar is traveling to the Netherlands to handle the crisis. Deputy Foreign Minister Sharon Haskell says many are hospitalized.
I call on the Dutch government to arrest and prosecute all those involved, and we have information from social media leading to those radical Islamists who went hunting for Jews.
She challenged Europe to take action.
I call on Europe and the world to act more aggressively to combat anti-Semitism. This is your responsibility. Israeli Jews being attacked by a violent mob in the heart of Europe is something no one should stand. If we fail to act, it will only get worse.
And the National Security Council issued a new warning to Israelis and Jews in the Netherlands to avoid movements in the street and lock yourself in hotel rooms. The externalization of Israeli and Jewish symbols must be avoided. The latest violence has once again focused Israeli fears on the rising tide of international anti-Semitism. Julie Stahl, CBN News, Jerusalem.
It should point out the vital need for Israel, that there would be a homeland for the Jews where they would be safe and they would be protected by their own government, by their own army. This is what happened in Europe back in the 1930s, the 1940s. It's what happened in Russia back in the 1890s. It's been happening again and again and again. And we have vowed on our watch, never again. But on our watch, we have this thing happening in the Netherlands. We had October 7th. We have all the rockets from Hezbollah. We have in our own college campuses the chant, "From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free." That means the extermination of Jews. That means taking Israel off the map. We have to stand against it. We have to stand with Israel in her time of need. In other news, President-elect Donald Trump is moving quickly to form his new government. John Jessup has that story and more from our CBN News Bureau in Washington. John?
Thanks, Gordon. Trump's first choice is historic. Susie Wiles will be the first woman to serve as White House Chief of Staff. Wiles is widely credited with running Trump's most disciplined and well-executed of his 3 presidential campaigns, which led to his decisive victory in Tuesday's election. Meanwhile, Republicans have strengthened their hold on the Senate by picking up another seat, with David McCormick declared the winner in Pennsylvania, ousting 3-term incumbent Bob Casey. That gives the GOP 53 seats, with 2 races still undecided. The Republicans also appear to be on track to keep control of the House of Representatives, putting them in charge of the U.S. House, the Senate, and the White House. Well, the pro-life movement won some important victories on election night this week, thanks to strong action from key political leaders. As Lori Johnson tells us, some believe those wins will serve as a blueprint for more successes in the future.
Tuesday, 10 states voted on abortion ballot measures. Pro-life voices came out on top in 3 of those states, despite being outspent by the abortion industry 6-1. Voters in South Dakota, Nebraska, and Florida rejected calls to expand abortion access, thereby keeping bans on the procedure in place.
We were thrilled to see some great victories this year.
Outspoken pro-life politicians in those states deserve much of the credit. In South Dakota, Senator John Thune, Representative Dusty Johnson, and Governor Kristi Noem fought against their measure. Nebraska Senator Pete Ricketts and Governor Jim Pillen did the heavy lifting in that state, and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis went the extra mile to defeat Amendment 4.
He traveled around the state. He fundraised on behalf of the pro-life cause and made the case directly to Floridians about why Amendment 4 was so dangerous, why it was so extreme, why it would California our Florida laws.
The strategy of involving pro-life elected leaders will likely be used in future ballot initiatives, whether it's states that haven't voted on abortion yet or ones that may consider them again, such as Missouri, where Tuesday's results were razor thin.
Just 51% voted for that initiative, with $30 million spent lying about what it was about. And so I think, you know, of course it's a tragedy because there are babies who will lose their lives because this passed in Missouri, but it shows us that if we can get our leaders in the game, if we can go back to the voters and directly communicate about what Amendment 3 did, we have the opportunity to overturn it in the future.
Meanwhile, abortion activists are touting their wins in 7 states on Tuesday. One Planned Parenthood official claims banning abortion and restricting access to essential care is a losing issue. Voters chose freedom. However, their message could alienate large numbers of Americans.
Their version of America is one that is dark. It is disempowering. They tell women there are a million reasons why you can't do it, why you need an abortion. The pro-life movement is offering something that is hopeful, that is empowering, that says you can do it and we're going to walk alongside you.
Lori Johnson, CBN News.
Thank you, Lori. Well, turning now to California, where a fast-moving wildfire continues to ravage Ventura County in the southern part of the state. Despite the tireless efforts of firefighters, it remains only 5% contained. CBN's George Thomas has that story.
Firefighting teams on the ground and in the air are still battling flames that have been sweeping over Ventura County.
It's like trying to put out a blowtorch with a squirt gun.
The mountain fire broke out early Wednesday morning, fueled by powerful Santa Ana winds. Within 2 days, the blaze had charred over 20,000 acres, and more than 130 structures have been destroyed, including the home of Ventura County resident Dawn DeLon.
First it skipped us and it started burning our neighbor's house past us. We thought we were okay. Evacuated anyway, and today came back and the house was gone.
Authorities are telling people to stay away from the blaze.
The fire is still very dangerous. The winds have not completely deceased.
The fire has left many residents in potential danger, including Gregory Bostock, a California Highway Patrol officer who narrowly escaped the flames with his family of 6 in their RV.
And as we were pulling the RV down the driveway, you know, there's such thick smoke we could barely even see the house at that point. And patrol car didn't make it, but hey, that's okay. They're replaceable. People aren't.
Bostock and his family are staying in an Airbnb thanks to their church and their supportive friends who have brought clothes and food.
I miss our house, but it's better that we still have our lives.
Over 800 firefighters are on the front lines, with more expected to join the effort as the fire rages on. Officials stress that the recovery and containment will take time as safety checks are made.
This is a slow process because we have to make sure that the properties are safe. That means the gas lines and the electrical and all our hazards have to be secured before the teams enter onto the properties.
Around 10,000 people northwest of Los Angeles have been forced to evacuate. California's governor has declared a state of emergency as crews continue to work around the clock to control the fast-moving fire. George Thomas, CBN News.
A frightening time for people affected by the fire. Gordon?
We need to pray for everyone in California, but especially Ventura County. This fire is truly unbelievable, and it seems to be a recurring story in California where these wildfires just go out of control and consume people's homes. For everyone who's lost their home, my heart goes out to you. For those who are in danger, please evacuate. Please take care of yourself and realize what was said in that piece. Well, things can be replaced, cars can be replaced. People can't. So make sure you're protected and you're safe.